Now, what team eventually ended up pulling you in?
It was probably Bristol City is where I played at the highest level.
What made you say, what if I start my own business?
I think 9 out of 10 businesses fail, so you're already at a disadvantage there. So I was thinking to myself, all right, let's create 10 businesses. One will work. They spent millions and millions of dollars making this mistake.
So what was your biggest regret playing soccer? Welcome to the Cincinnati Business Podcast, where we give you practical tips and tricks to grow yourself and your business. And brought to you by the Cincinnati Podcast Studio. From my understanding, growing up in England, soccer, football, is the thing. Like, that is the sport that everyone wants to play.
It's pretty much the only sport that kids want to play. I think there are like other sports that kids maybe go into, but it's normally because they're either not that good at soccer. But in America, I feel like that it's different. Parents want their kids to play multiple sports, which is fine. But I think eventually you've got to get to a point where they maybe at 12 years old, 11 years old, where they choose a sport and they go with it. Because if you're going to be good at something, you've got to play. I think 10,000 hours is what you got to do. And I think if you're playing something for 10,000 hours, you've got to really truly commit to it. You can't be playing baseball then, basketball then a little bit of soccer. So yeah.
When did you realize that you were actually really good at soccer?
Pretty early on, because I was just playing more. I was playing more, and you can always tell when a kid really practices. Mm-hmm. And I was just going out. I was sacrificing, going out with friends. My friends would walk past my house while I was practicing after I told them that I wasn't coming out and playing that night. So you have to kind of just get to that point. And I was scoring a lot of goals and doing a lot of things that when you watch pros do it, and you can replicate it, that's also a thing. And I just carried on, and I was playing at a higher level than some other people around me. So no, you kind of play into that at some point. So
when you were growing up, were your like parents recognizing also that this was like a talent? They were like, we need to dig in and like make this happen? I
think so, yeah. They sacrifice a lot. And when your parents sacrifice, you kind of feel not pressure, but you feel like you have to kind of go with it. Like my dad would leave early from work, and he would drive an hour and a half to take me to practice at Leeds United's academy, for example. And my mum would make me dinner, which in England they call tea. They would make me food, and I would leave school early. School gave me permission to leave early, and every single Tuesday, Thursday, and I'd drive to practice and so on. So it kind of just became more important than school, really.
I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, that's a pretty impressive thing. Now, you said Leeds United. Was that like I don't quite know how all the kind of leagues and stuff work out there. Was that kind of like a special training school for high-performing athletes or something like that? Or?
They were probably the best academy in the area. They were a pro team.
Okay.
They've got academies that filters down as each year group.
Okay.
And they were probably the best at the time. The club was going through some financial difficulties at the time, but they had a reputation for producing players. And I wanted to play for them. It wasn't my hometown team, because you drive an hour and a half and you could pass 3 major cities in England, whereas in America, like an hour and a half is nothing. But no, all the best pro teams have academies, and you play against all those other pro academies.
Okay.
You really have to commit. It's a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning practice, and you play games on a Sunday, and it's the best players. Sometimes these pro teams bring people in from around the world. So you're not just competing against people in England, you're competing against people from around the world. So
Now, the Premier League and all of kind of football in Europe is kind of known for being pretty cutthroat. Like if you're not good enough, you're out, kind of thing. Was it the same as a student as well? Like if you didn't perform, you're out?
Yeah, pretty much. It toughens you up, and I think it is missing a little bit for kids. Definitely here in America, but just in sports in general. I had a really tough coach. He would get in your face. You'd get some stray spit in your face from when he's shouting at you, and it would be tough love. And when you're 12 years old, you kind of think that it's not right, but when you're 20 years old, you're hardened to it, and you can deal with disappointments. You can deal with someone getting on your back. You can deal with fans shouting at you and abusing you and things like that. I think when you look at Tiger Woods' story, he had the extreme story, but his dad would shout things on the tee just to get in his head, because that's what it's going to be like when you get to the pro level. So they're conditioning you to the standard you've got to get to, and it's not bullying or anything like that. It's just tough love.
So then here you are, you're a student. You said 12 years old was when you kind of
I would say around 12 is
Okay.
when it started getting serious and you had to truly commit, because I left school at 16 and
Wow.
went into the full-time soccer game then. So it's kind of like you've got to be ready at 16. And because England has so many players that play, the year below you, there's another kid looking to take your place. So you better be good at 16 or 18. Otherwise, you're getting cut out and someone else is going to take your place.
So what was that like for you at 16, leaving school and saying, okay, this is my profession now. This is what I'm going to do?
I mean, you love it. Like that, no one else, not many people, is like 1% chance of making it kind of thing, even less than that probably. And you kind of take it for granted, but there's a lot of pressure, right? Like there's like I say, there's more people that want to come in and take your place. You could get cast aside the next year. So every single game, every single practice was important. And that was maybe a mistake I made when I was younger. I didn't really recognize how important that was. And there was times when I maybe didn't practice hard enough, or maybe I didn't track back enough to defend. And that's helped me help kids now get better, because I experienced those mistakes, but I didn't always take it seriously, and you've got to take it seriously, especially in a competitive environment. So,
but you're still good enough. They still promoted you to the pros.
Yep.
So like, what that process look like of quitting school and eventually becoming a pro player and then eventually making it to the Premier League?
Well, you learn discipline. You learn, like, you've got to get up every morning. At 17 years old, you got to wake yourself up, get yourself to practice. You got to go out there in the cold and rain and wind and practice. And it, like I say, it hardens you. Being in a locker room of guys is kind of, it's hard to explain. I think I've only really had the conversation with military guys before. It's kind of like that camaraderie, but they're tough on you. Everyone finds one little thing that's wrong with you, and they'll pick on that, and they'll call you a name for that, and then you've got to find something wrong with them, because it's just kind of like a dog-eat-dog world, really, and it hardens you for sure. But you learn how to work in teams, you learn how to communicate, you learn discipline. So I'd definitely recommend it, even for life. It's great. It's a great thing.
So then here you are. You're in this school now. You're in the pros. And from my understanding, it's a process where you work into getting higher and higher in the world of football.
Yep.
So, where did you start, and how did you eventually get to the top?
Well, you've kind of got to perform at the lower levels, and when you perform at the lower levels, you'll keep going up, and you just got to kind of wait for an opportunity, because I mean, in soccer, there's 11 players, but you're not competing against 11 players for one position. You're probably competing against 2 or 3 people, maybe a couple of people below. And they say in soccer, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So you could be 16 and get a chance. And then when you get that chance, you got to take it. So
when did that come for you?
I would say around 16, 17. I remember playing against some of the best, ended up becoming the best players in the world. Some of these guys like Paul Pogba, and when you play against them, you kind of learn what they're doing. I performed. I scored in a game against Man United's academy, and it helped give me that next chance. And the same thing when I went to Bristol City, and you've got fans kind of shouting abuse on at you and so on. You've just got to be able to deal with it. And if you can deal with it, you'll be able to perform clearly. But some people kind of go into their shell a little bit. But I feel like I had the confidence at that time in my game, maybe not in myself. I feel like you've just got to take that opportunity. And I think that 16, 17, it was just like let's just express yourself. Let's take risks. Because if you just play within yourself, which I think at some points in my career I did play within myself, you've got to really take risks. And I think at that point, it kind of like was an epiphany in my mind that you've got to take risks to kind of get higher and higher.
Well, so then who took a risk on you?
It was my coach at Hull City. he took a risk, and I feel like I still made mistakes with that. Billy Russell, at the time, I hated him. I couldn't stand him because he was the tough love. I was getting that tough love. He would kind of just ignore you for a week. He wouldn't talk to you at all, or he would get in your face, like I said, and he took the chance on me. And I think I was a late developer, so I developed mentally, physically, which are two really important factors in sport. Yeah, and I think I developed a little later to a point where maybe I was 18, 19 and I wasn't even with him anymore. He wasn't my coach anymore, but he was the first person to really believe in me, and it gave me the confidence in my ability to kind of play at that higher level. So
awesome. Now, what team eventually ended up pulling you in that you kind of eventually got to the top with?
It was probably Bristol City is where I played at the highest level. I played at Leeds' academy growing up against all the best players in England at the time. Then I went back to Hull City, and I think I made mistakes there, and there was a reason I wasn't. I didn't stay there until I was 18, 19 because I just didn't, my attitude wasn't there. And I think that was something I learned after that. And then I went to Bristol City away from family, 17 years old. And you got to figure out life yourself. So I would say Bristol City was the highest, and then obviously went to Iceland after that, and then came to the US. So
what was it like going to Iceland? I mean, that's a whole nother like world, it feels like.
I would be a spokesman for Icelandic tourism, but I don't know if I would live there for longer than 2-week vacation or a week vacation. It's tough. Like, it gets dark nights. Some days you don't get sunlight really hardly ever. It's expensive. I think a Subway sandwich, if it was like $8-9 in America, it was about $19 in Iceland. And you're paying with like $1,000 bills because their currency there is like that. And everyone converges on the capital city because the surrounding cities get hit by avalanches and things like that. So amazing place to visit, but living there, it was tough. So I kind of went back to England after that, and then made the decision to come to the US.
So what was your biggest regret in your time playing soccer?
I would say there was times where I didn't work hard enough on the field, where I maybe thought I was too good to work back, or maybe thought I was, I would say that I thought that other people would do that for me because I had the good job kind of thing, and I was better than them. So I could maybe get away with not doing things. And I watched pro players do that, and that was maybe sometimes a negative of watching pro players. But I would say there were times there in England where, especially at Hull City, where I feel like I could have done better in that sense, working hard, tracking back, not thinking that I'm above certain roles on the field, because soccer, unlike American football, there's a whole unit that come on and defend. There's a whole unit that come and attack. But in soccer, everyone's an attacker, and then when you lose the ball, you become a defender. So I would only really do the attacking side and think that I don't need to, and I can have a free role. I can do whatever I want. And I've seen guys make it in soccer who are not the best players. It's the guys that might be 7, 8 out of 10 players, but they're not going to do anything special, but they will work hard. They will be there every single time you need them. They're dependable. So maybe that's a mistake I made in hindsight.
Was there a moment that became really clear to you?
I would say at Hull City when I was starting to play less, and it wasn't because of ability, because I was still performing well, but I started to play less, and my coach kind of lost. It was him teaching me, and then when I started not playing, I started to sulk and be mad at him, as opposed to think maybe I need to look at myself and what I could have done better. And I think that has helped me in my next career as well. I think. Instead of looking at other people as the reason why things are not happening, maybe you got to look at yourself or what decisions you're making. So
then from Iceland, you come to the US, and you're in the process of trying to get picked up in the US. And then what happens?
It was a stressful time, that. So I always joke that in England, among the pro community in soccer and in football, See, I told you I would make that mistake. So I always thought that coming to the US was where failed soccer players, failed football players in England would go. Like America didn't really have much infrastructure and so on and so on. So I said I would do it. I wanted to try something new. I didn't have to stay here. If not, I could have just gone back home. But I had that whole NCAA issues where I'd played pro. Some top colleges were making offers to me. They were my best chance. I was only really coming to America to play in the MLS. I knew America was a great place to live, which it still is. And I knew that the NCAA schools, the best NCAA schools, were my best chance. Maybe spend a year in college, hardly go to any classes, and do well in playing in college, and then go to the draft after that. But it wasn't as easy as that, I found. So,
and then you were in the process of trying to be in some of these training camps, basically, and then you tear your ACL.
Yeah, so that was kind of like a little bit further on. So essentially, I had to. We tried to scrub everything from Google on all the pro talk, all the chat rooms, and so on and so on. So the NCAA wouldn't find it. I ended up. I think we paid a lot of money to a guy to do that, a company to do that for us, and then the NCAA came back and said, "There's years out of education. What happened during these years out of education?" They figured out that I'd played at a high level. They said, "No, you're not allowed out here." So I'm still in England. It's getting towards the time when the semester is starting. So when the semester starts, it kind of just puts a lock on it, and then you got to wait until next year again. And then next year would have been another year out of education. The NCAA would have said no. So I ended up trying the NAIA, which for soccer players from around the world, it's got less rules. So you're seeing a lot of talented players in the NAIA in soccer because they can't get eligible in the NCAA. So I went to the NAIA. I had to sit a whole year because the NAIA told me that I'd played at too high a level. I'm not going to give you this eligibility. So I sat for a whole year. I went and played in Michigan for a school called Davenport. I played 1 year for them. And then more NCAA schools came in for me and was like, "Oh, Tyler, let's like UCLA, for example, Villanova, they were all offering me scholarships, full scholarships, didn't have to pay anything. Oregon State flew me out for an official visit." And I was like, geez, some of these schools are fantastic. Some like the facilities, they would have my name on the locker. They would have free cleats and so on and so on. There was ways at the time where they were able to pay athletes. Obviously, it wasn't legal at the time, but no. So I looked into that even more. Again, the NCAA said no. So I had to, at that point, when these NCAA schools were making offers and I wanted to go on official visits and see the school, some of these, my Davenport's head coach said, "You're not allowed back at Davenport. If we give you approval for you to go on an official visit at Oregon State or Villanova, you're not welcome back at Davenport." So I was like, this might be a risk worth taking. Like UCLA or a little school in Michigan that no one heard of. So I took the risk, and then the NCAA came back and said, "No, you're not allowed in." So I was schoolless at that point, and semester was starting in about 4 weeks. And then a guy I knew out in Philadelphia said, "Oh, there's a coach in rural southern Kentucky called Lindsey Wilson. He's one of the well-known coaches in the NAIA. I'll have a word with him." And I was like, "Okay, let's try it." And this guy offered me a full scholarship. He'd pick me up from the airport, and he said that he would help me get into the draft if I played well for them. I get to Lindsey Wilson. I get into my first class. I'm a few weeks late for class. I have to catch up. And then all the all the NAIA schools complained that I'd played at too high of a level to even play in the NAIA. Even though I'd played in it last year, and they'd basically banned me. They'd made me guilty until proven innocent, as opposed to innocent until proven guilty. And I was eligible to play, but all these schools that were rivals to Lindsey Wilson complained to try and not make me play. So I didn't play at the start of the season. I missed about 10 games or something. And then we eventually got me eligible. Then I scored I think it was 21 goals in 12 games.
Whoa.
Entered the draft after that. He helped me get in the draft. I signed with an agent. And yeah, that led to the next stage really of the ACL.
Hey Cincinnati, are you tired of dating apps that just go nowhere? My friend Amanda Hood is a professional matchmaker and the founder of The Crush Confidential, the Midwest's only full-service relationship curation agency. So Amanda works directly with selective singles who are serious about finding lasting love with personalized matchmaking and elite coaching. She's helping Cincinnati's most eligible find real connections. No swiping, no settling. Visit thecrushconfidential.com and connect with Amanda today. Love is closer than you think. Imagine being told, I'm sorry, but you're out of options. There's nothing more that we can do to help you. That's what hundreds of people are told every day when mental health treatments fail them. But what if there's a reason that you're not responding to your medication? The Anderson Clinics are pioneers in the mental health field, and they're the only ones in Cincinnati to offer personalized TMS, a non-invasive, low-risk, FDA-approved individualized medical treatment using an EEG to target underperforming areas of the brain. In addition, they offer things like ketamine infusions, psychotherapy, and medication management. They would love to help you feel better faster. Check them out and see what they can do for you. Just call 513-321-1753 to book your consultation today. You are now you got an agent, you're getting into the draft. When did the ACL come into play then?
This is a crazy one. Is when you leave school, you void your health insurance. And then when you sign with a team, you get your health insurance again. So there's that period between leaving school and signing with a team through the draft where you don't have health insurance. So I'd went to the MLS Combine in Las Vegas at the time. My coach in the Combine was the former national team coach of the US, Greg Berhalter.
Nice.
And I was just playing. I'd done a skill. My leg just buckled underneath me at this Combine. My agent was literally like 10 yards away from me, and he saw it happen.
Oh.
I didn't know I'd done it. I felt the pop. In hindsight now, I felt everything happened that's supposed to happen on a torn ACL, but I carried on playing. I was running around. I actually scored right after it. That's why like sometimes when people are in agony because of an ACL, I'm like, I didn't really have that experience, but carried on playing, entered the draft, actually agreed a deal outside of the draft. My agent did with Sporting Kansas City, and I was all set to go out there. I think it was about a month and a half before I was supposed to report to preseason. I was training on my own. I was doing a little bit of coaching with some kids, and I was showing some kids how to do the scissors in soccer, and my leg just buckled. No kid around me. No one tried to tackle me. My leg just buckled again. And I'm like, that's not normal. So I ended up having to speak to a friend who was an orthopedic surgeon who got me a free scan. And that free scan, which I think it ended up coming to like over $1,000.
Whoa.
I didn't pay for it. And he told me that I'd torn my ACL completely. So then I'm panicking because I don't have health insurance. So I call my former school and I say, Coach, like I've torn my ACL. I don't know what to do. I can't. Sporting Kansas City won't take me and help me recover if I'm injured for a whole year. So he was like, you got to come back to school. You got to get injured in a practice. And the school will help you. And then when you come back, we'll help rehabilitate you. And when you come back, that's when you can play for us again, and then maybe rekindle that.
But from what I understand, that's the end of your soccer career.
I think it was more a choice. I don't think it was, because I recovered from that ACL, ended up playing for the school for a few games, and then my wife graduated. Oh, she wasn't my wife at the time, but she was my girlfriend at the time, and she graduated, and essentially I just moved to Cincinnati with her, and I wanted to go out and train with pro teams. So I went out to Reno and played for them for a little bit, just like more like tryouts. It wasn't an official contract, and I just wasn't enjoying playing soccer in America anymore. It wasn't the same as what it was in England. I felt like no one really cared about it here, especially at the pro ranks. I know kids play it, and I felt like the money wasn't there like it was in the UK. So I eventually just decided to kind of, while I was still kind of half recovering from the ACL as well, even though I'd still played a little bit. I didn't feel right. I just said, let's do something else, which led to the next stage of my life, really.
So you're realizing that you don't want to play soccer anymore. Like, it's not the dream that you once had. And it makes sense. You went through a lot of crazy, like, people just adversity, just getting in your way. So what made you say, what if I start my own business?
So I was in the locker room. I felt like I had acne on my back a lot. And I was like, why me? People picking on me. Other guys in the locker room had the same thing. There was a lot of staff going around at the locker room, and it was kind of scary. Like, so I was like, why me? Why am I getting these? I'm showering more than most people. I'm cleaner than most people. I am exercising more than most people. Why am I experiencing these effects? So I firstly shot out 1,000 emails to CEOs around America and executives and so on. I just shot the same email, BCC'd to all these people. I found their email online somewhere. And I probably got out of 1,000, probably like 15 responses. About 7 of those responses, the person responded a second time to me after I'd said something to them. And then after that, there was about 5 people that agreed to meet with me. So like people like Howard Schultz at Starbucks, they'd sent me his books to read before speaking with him. I had to read all 3 of his books in about 2 or 3 weeks before speaking to him. I had a response from Tim Cook. We haven't met yet, but we communicated over email and so on. And Panera, I met with people there and so on. So I ended up getting the bug for entrepreneurship from there because I was like, all right, what made these high performers get there, but also what makes them tick on a daily basis?
Well, okay. What did you send them that you actually were able to get responses from people like that?
I think I did play into the soccer background. I'm an ex-athlete. I'm looking to potentially get into the business world. I think I've got some comparable skills and things that I've learned in soccer, like the adversity, beating the odds. I think starting a business, you're already I think 9 out of 10 businesses fail, so you're already at a disadvantage there. So I was thinking to myself, all right, let's create 10 businesses. One will work. And yeah, so I went and met with these CEOs, but I also, while I was doing that, I was contacting microbiologists and people that knew about bacteria. And I was like, why am I experiencing these effects? Like, what is causing this? Maybe I can find a solution for many other people that were experiencing it as well. And he said, Tyler, how often do you use your towel? I was like, I don't know. The one in the locker room, maybe twice, 3 times just in that day. But the one at home, I probably use for about a week. And he's like, Tyler, do you know what's on your towel? And I was like, no. He's like, there's E. coli, there's viruses, there's influenza, there's staph in all our towels. And every single time you reuse your towel, you're just wiping that back on your skin. And you're essentially just making yourself dirtier than even when you got washed yourself. So I was like, interesting. He's like, there's about 650 million bacteria on your towel. Not all of it's dangerous, but there's about 650 million different microbes on a towel that we can't see after a week. So you're using your towel a week and you're just wiping all this onto your skin. You might have an open pore. You might be sweating and use a towel and your pores are open at that point, and just wipe it onto your skin and get something into your bloodstream, and that's causing the effects you're having. And he said, I'll leave you with this, Tyler. There is more bacteria on a 2-day-old towel than on the inside of a toilet. So
oh my gosh.
Would you wipe your skin on a toilet? Probably not. So I was like, interesting. Is there anything that I can use here? Nothing. Absolutely nothing that would help me. So I said to myself, I'll go and create it. Like, I had the bug for entrepreneurship. I'd learned a little bit from some smart people that were successful. Read a bunch of books, took a bunch of online courses on business, and put some smart people around me, and we built a formulation that can help people with things like that. So,
man, okay, I feel like I'm missing a step though somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, that is a bold move to email 1,000 CEOs, the biggest CEOs. Like, you got Tim Cook on that list.
Yeah.
Like the biggest CEOs in America. And you say, hey, I'm looking to get into the world of business. That's a bold move.
Mm-hmm.
Was this something that you did like right away after you left soccer, or like right after you guys got married and you had been doing stuff out in Vegas?
Yeah, I think I'd gone to all those teams, decided I didn't want to play soccer. I was still kind of playing at that point, but I was going to some physical therapy over at UC, and I'd met a few business people there, and then I heard that Cincinnati was trying to grow the startup scene, and I was like, maybe I'm in a good place to start a business. And then I again just went online, shot my shot. I think you've got to in life, you've got to shoot your shot. Don't be scared of speaking to people, reaching out to people. Like I dealt with a lot of rejections already, so I was like, what's another rejection? What's another rejection? Yeah. One of these is going to work. If I contact 1,000, I'm going to get at least one response, surely. So.
Yeah.
So I put in the effort there. I got a few responses, and at that point, I was just getting the bug. I was getting the bug for business. I was having different ideas, writing different ideas down. I think I've still got that list of about 50. So the law of averages suggests that 5 of them are going to work if I start all 50 of them. But no. So that's kind of what drove me to it.
What sort of response do you get from people when you tell them that stat about the towel being more bacteria laden than the inside of a toilet?
A lot better response in person than through an ad, for example.
Okay.
I feel like that was a mistake that we made early on. Is we started out, we came in hot. We were like, no one really knows about this. I think about 92% of people didn't know about this problem. About 8% knew that there was some bacteria there. But I feel like in person, people are like, wow, like Tyler, I threw my towel in the wash right after this and so on. And I'm like, wow, well, I think there's another solution I can help you with instead of just throwing it in the wash kind of thing, because there's problems with doing laundry as well. There's the climate, there's the degradation of a towel when you wash it, and so on, and all the chemicals that are in that. So people are always, it's an epiphany moment. And that's kind of why we called ourselves Epiphany, because it's kind of an epiphany moment when you realize, oh yeah, like it does smell. Maybe there's stuff on there. Like, yes, I did touch, maybe I didn't wash my hands perfectly after touching that door handle. And there was something on that door handle that I've just wiped my hands on my towel, and then I've used my towel again. So people are kind of like, yeah, like that is something I probably need to solve.
So then you have been talking to these biologists. You start to come up with a formulation. What was that process like?
Oh, it was hard. Like I'd never done anything like this. I'd had no experience in CPG and creating scientific products that are effective. Like, what do you need? What do you tell them? But I've always said to myself, I'll figure stuff out. So like maybe I don't have experience. Maybe I don't have the knowledge that person, but you can put smart people around you and they know more than you. Don't be the smartest person in the room. That's what these CEOs were telling me. Don't be the smartest person in the room. Always surround yourself with people that know more than you, and then you can make a decision from there. And I worked with 2 people that worked at Johnson & Johnson that retired. One of the people was 90 that 90 years old that developed the spray. So I think he had over 60 years experience in developing formulations. And while he was old, he was still all there, and he was able to help us really make this formulation. So yeah, it was hard trying to figure out, like, we need to create something that's 1, effective, 2, has all these different benefits that are better than what might be out there right now. Plus it needs to be storable in a warehouse. Plus it needs to be shippable by UPS or FedEx. Plus it needs to look good. Plus it needs to smell good. And there's so many different things that go into it. Plus it needs to be able to be stored for a year, 2 years, 3 years. So yeah, it was like kind of a learn on the job. And like if you put people around you that know more than you, then you can learn pretty quickly.
So how did you fund the beginning of Epiphany?
So it was mainly, I would say 90% self-funded, money that I'd saved in soccer, money that I actually got a grant that helped start things off, which really helped us kind of develop the legal side of things on the IP and fund, because you always budget for things in business and it always changes. It's very rarely under what you budget. So yeah, I funded probably about 40,000 of my own money to begin with, and then we got about a $10,000 grant.
Wow.
But yeah, that kind of helped us start it out. And to play in this space, it's dominated by some very wealthy companies. So you've kind of got to have something better than them.
And of all places, you're in Cincinnati, the home of P&G,
Yep.
which is a massive competitor. And Kroger. Yeah. So like, well, Kroger, a great place to be able to potentially sell a product, but you're competing with P&G and these massive brands that they built inside of them.
Cow Corporation are here as well. They make some great products. So I thought it was a great place to start a business in this space because we don't want to compete with them. They have way bigger budgets that they just spend money like crazy, and we don't have that. So we got to create something that's good, very niche. I wanted to create something that's an expert in that problem, not just a jack of all trades, master of none. We wanted to be the expert in towels, for example, and some of our other products are experts in sports gear, making sure sports gear smells good. So we wanted to, I always tell people that if you have a problem with your eyes, do you go and see a GP that knows a little bit about eye issues, or do you go and see an optician that knows all about it, that is trained in it, that has done all the research, that has created or that has products that directly solve that? And that's what we want to be at Epiphany.
So tell me about the moment you made your first sale. What was that like for you?
It was actually an in-person sale. So we kept I think it was a $10 product. It's a $10 product, and someone paid in like a $5 note and then 5 ones. So we kept those ones as like the first money we ever made. And it was great. I think we had to tell people, and sometimes when you tell someone what our product does, it's a lot better than just throwing an ad in their face that they're going to skip past. So we sold in person. It was actually at Findlay Market. We didn't sell online. We sold at Findlay Market just for one weekend. One of my investors' sons came and helped sell, and it was a windy day. Our things were going all around, wafting around, and so on. And yeah, I remember just it was an older lady, and she bought 3 of them. So our first product that we sold, she bought 3 units because she was sending her grandson to college to use the towel spray while he was at college, because she knew that his habits were going to be bad when he got to college. So that was the first sale.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So backing up real quick. So you said you had investors. At one point, did you bring on investors as you were growing this?
Yeah. So just before we launched, we knew that we needed some kind of marketing budget. Now, this was never going to help us in the long term, but we knew that we needed something. So we brought on, I knew them personally, so it wasn't like we're just bringing on someone that we didn't know about that just wanted to make a quick buck. Because that's what you've always got to worry about with investment, is bringing on someone that just is always thinking about that exit. So we brought on people that I knew. I'd even done some private lessons with their son at soccer. So we knew each other before, and he used the product, his family used the products, they loved the products, they were using it on not just towels, but other things too. And they believed in me. I think you've got to find someone that believes in you. And at that point, we brought on 2 investors, one's in Michigan and one's in Ohio. And yeah, they believe in the products and mission and so on, because we're a mission-driven company. We're not just a company that wants to make some money for 5 years and then sell. We want to build a product that's 100 years old one day, and you can only build a great company if you think about the long term. I think if you just think about the short term, you don't make great things. So
there's new tariffs dropping, markets are spiraling, supply chains are scrambling, and business owners are bracing for impact. And if your strategy was built last quarter, today probably just broke it. Solvstat helps brands adapt fast with clarity, speed, and strategy built to thrive in uncertainty. You can't control politics, but you can control your marketing strategy. Solvstat, brand marketing creative. Visit solvstat.com. Here's a question for you. How did you find the last podcast that you listened to? Was it recommended by a friend? Did you see an ad for it? Or what about a short clip online that made you want to listen more? Here at the Cincinnati Podcast Studio, we help you produce your own podcast. And with your show, we create up to 8 clips per episode to help you reach your audience faster. These clips are short, engaging, and with catchy subtitles because we know your audience is probably scrolling on their phone, muted on the toilet. If you've been wanting to start or upgrade your podcast, check us out at CincinnatiPodcastStudio.com. What made you think that you want this to be a long-term company? Because a lot of people do build companies with the goal of, hey, I want to sell this in 5-10 years.
I think because I use the products, my wife uses the products, our friends use the products, my family in England use the products. So if we use the products for ourselves, we don't want to do anything, like we don't want to change our habits. We want to use this product for us. That builds trust with the consumer, and the consumer's like, oh, if they use it, their own children use it, then we'd use it too. So I just think building a product that has a legacy, that has a mission, that also improves the standard of the industry. Because I think if you look at some products and you type in Febreze 1998 versus Febreze 2025, it looks completely the same, and it's probably a similar product to what it was back then. So we wanted to do something a lot better than that. Like we wanted to create a product that looks good, that is very, very nice to use. We even thought about little things like the sprayer on our spray. It makes a sound as opposed to a duck quacking like some of these sprays. So you got to create something better, and that kind of drove us to think, okay, if we're going to have long-term users, we need to create a long-term product that they're going to use for a long time, that it's hard to beat. So yeah, that's kind of what drove.
So then what's been your greatest failure in this pursuit?
I would say there's been a lot of failures. I think we've had some tough things, like FedEx was shipping products from our 3PL to Cincinnati, and we're going to ship over 1,000 of them to the police force because they use them on their bulletproof vests, and about $30,000 worth of product was damaged. I would say we made some mistakes in messaging. I think I did read the story about the mistakes Febreze made early on, and Febreze talked a lot early on about your home smells, your home is this, your home is that, and people started getting combative and didn't buy Febreze. So I would say that we needed to begin with, I think we made a mistake by saying your towel's got bacteria on it, you need to wash your towel. And people started, people almost like shut off. They don't want you to tell them about their problems. They want to kind of come to the problem themselves. So essentially you need to talk about what the product's going to do for them. Yeah. We felt that with towels, no one knows about it. So you need to tell them what's on their towel. But people have some kind of inkling already. You've kind of got to maybe spend out of 30 seconds, about 5 seconds talking about the problem, and then the rest of the time talking about what you're going to do to solve it. And then at that point, people are easier to sell to than if you focus on just, especially after COVID, people had fatigue from bacteria and so on. So we were running into that challenge. So yeah, I think that messaging to begin with was not something that we did great.
That's an interesting insight. I mean, a lot of people think that, especially a new product or a new category even of a product, that they have to educate first. But generally what you're saying here is people will figure this thing out on their own. They just need to know why this will make their life better. Like
Febreze said, all right, your home smells. We have a spray. You use this because this product solves the smell in your home. Whereas when they spent a lot more money than we did, they spent millions and millions of dollars making this mistake. But when they changed to, we will freshen up your home, it will smell great. You will come home from a day at work and it'll smell like it's just been cleaned. When they changed the messaging, that then helped them sell more. I think with us, a big mistake, not mistake, but we knew it was going to be a challenge, is no one has this habit of spraying their towel down. So what do you do when someone doesn't have a habit? One, you need to make it look good so people are willing to keep it out and remember to use it. But we also designed a pattern on the product where we'd create a hanging feature. So when you put your towel down, you can hang your spray
That's what that little clip is.
from the rail. Yeah, so you can hang it
Interesting.
there, and it tells you to use it again. And then at that point, you start adopting the habit. And
That's
adopting
really
the
smart.
habit.
Here, I want to look at this.
Yeah, so
So
you can
this flips up and it hangs.
yeah.
From that is genius.
Yeah, so we filed a patent, and we own a patent on having a hanging feature to a spray bottle. So it could be a different spray bottle. It could be the other spray bottle we have there as well. We have different hooks for them, but in order for you to adopt that habit, we've got to put it right where you would use it. So one, it looks good. It's not too big.
Yeah.
So it's not taking up too much space, but also it'll hang right from where you use it. So.
And it's interesting. Like when I saw the sprayer when I first saw it, I was like, what is that? Why is it like that?
You can take it off. You can clip it on. You can take it off.
Okay.
It's not molded onto the sprayer, but it's unique to us. It's got our logo on it, and yeah, it's pretty secure. You can hang it from your rail, your hook, anywhere where you keep your towel, really. So
Interesting. So now, how old is Epiphany?
Epiphany is about 3 years old.
Okay.
We took us a long time to develop it and test it and so on. Okay. So yeah.
So what is Towel Spray doing right now? Like, how is it working? Like, are you guys making money? Is it working? And what is kind of the market because I know you're starting to move into some different markets. So I'm kind of curious about that as well.
Yeah. So I think the D2C side of things, we started off with that. We started with that marketing campaign that was mainly focused on this is what's on your towel, gross people out kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's the truth, but it was kind of like a gross thing. You get your early adopters, you get your people that are like, yeah, I need something to solve that right away. But you don't get everyone in that. So we quickly realized that one, we needed to change the messaging. Two, we needed to improve the products. People were telling us that this needed to improve or this needed to improve. We felt like our first launch was about 7 out of 10. And then now we've created something that's a 9.5 out of 10. Maybe not perfect, because I think you always need something that you got to improve on. But no, it was killing me every night. I was like, we've got to improve this. We've got to improve this. So we relaunched the towel spray. It's making money, but we also have a B2B arm. So there's people using our spray, gyms. People are spraying it on their gym gear before they go in the car because it'll dry their clothes off. People.
Oh, that's interesting. So wait, you're saying that this product helps dry something faster?
Yes. So initially the formulation changes through the different products, but with the towel spray, people were using it on their gear. They were just regular gear, their gym gear, whatever, because it has a drying feature to it. So we wanted to dry towels quicker because when a towel is wet, that's when bacteria is colonizing and multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. But when a towel is dry, it's kind of paused. So it has that benefit of drying fast. The spray dries fast, but it dries whatever is wet fast as well. I remember speaking to someone that was wearing scrubs. If you spray on some scrubs, you can see it right away on that like blue coloring. And I think we were at a restaurant and he'd sprayed it on his leg and his leg was soaked. And then in 20, 30 seconds, it was gone. So it just dried rapidly and people were using it on different things. And you always find that when you're selling a product, you can't control how people use it. So we spoke to gyms and people were spraying it on themselves after they'd finished working out before they got in the car so they could dry really quickly. And sometimes you need to spray more to get more off, but they were getting into their car and sitting there and they weren't getting sweat on their car seat or odor on their car seat. Especially if they've got a fabric car seat, then it's going to stick on there. So
interesting. Wow. Okay. So when you saw that use case, is that when you started to branch into some more products and say like, hey, we need to start doing things that are more like personal sprays or other things like that? Because is that what this is?
That one's the sport one.
Okay.
So a lot of parents, obviously I come from a sport background as we've been talking about, but I definitely had smelly cleats, smelly shin guards. I had people tell me that their kid played lacrosse and their helmets and gloves smelled bad, or they played hockey and their cleats and their pads were bad and so on. So we were like, okay, like let's adjust the formulation a little bit to maybe focus on odor. It'll still kill bacteria, but we'll maybe focus on the odor because that odor can get strong. So we need something that packs a punch to really get rid of that. We have some deodorizers in there, not just masking of odor. So we created the sports spray. And yeah, we started working with B2Bs like gyms, like our spray. If you spray a machine in a gym, it'll dry itself on the machine. It'll also remove the bad stuff that someone sweats out onto the machine. So you don't need to keep using paper. You can just spray our spray on the machine because it's a fine mist.
Yeah.
So it doesn't soak.
Yeah.
And then you don't really even hear it. You don't really see it. It just does the job and then gets out of there, really. So,
dude, I wish I had this in college. One of my roommates in college, he was in ROTC. And so here he is drilling like every day in his stuff. And then he brings all of his uniforms back to the room and it smelled horrible. Oh my gosh. Yep. Sorry, Kenny, not to call you out or anything. Yep. But this is genius. I love it. I mean, and that's really good job of like, how did you, I think this is an interesting thing with CPG style brands. And I think all businesses in general, they have to listen to their consumers. And one of the things that you're describing to me is that you heard from these people like, hey, this is how we're using this. How did you hear that? Because that's a hard thing to be able to gather sometimes from people.
I think you've just got to create trust where you can reach out to people. Like we were a brand that were like, this is a new product. We're not perfect yet. We're not 50 years old. Can we get your feedback? How are you using it? We did focus groups, but honestly find with focus groups that sometimes, especially when there's someone there, you have to be there. Not me, but someone from the company has to maybe be there and kind of adjudicate it. And I found that people are not always fully honest. Even people around you might not be fully honest. And I think as a CPG founder, you've got to find people that will tell you the truth. Maybe not like someone that's always just going to be negative on everything, because you can make your own judgment. But I don't think people always told us that this was right or this was wrong or so on. So we ended up speaking to the people that had bought it. Why were you not going to buy it again? Why did you buy it? And so on and so on. And then at that point, someone said that they used it on their kid's bed when they wet the bed. Like they'd put a paper towel down to get all the liquid up. But at that point, it still had the stain. It still had the smell. They sprayed our spray on it and it dried really quickly. It smelled a lot better. Obviously, it didn't have the bacteria that would be in there. So yeah, people just tell you like when they use it on different things. So yeah, I think creating a product that people use on different things is not something we initially thought. We wanted to be very focused. But no, people are using it on all different things now, and I definitely do. So
interesting, huh? So I cut you off earlier. You were talking about trying to do more B2B sales now is what you're trying to do. So what sort of markets are you trying to break into a little bit more?
So things like hotels. I think about 50% of people that stay in a hotel more than one night use their towel multiple times. We're obviously the police force. They're using it on their bulletproof vests. They're not practical to wash. Their boots as well. There's obviously gyms. I was talking about gyms. People are using it on their gym shoes. They're in the locker rooms. And then we're just trying to branch out to things like care homes. We tried with hospitals. We're still working on it, but hospitals always think that their hospital is the cleanest thing in the world and they don't need anything else to help them. But a lot of bacteria in those places as well. But gyms is kind of a big one. Yoga studios, people are putting it in their yoga bags and so on. And then obviously there's the sport realm. If we can get into not only pro sports, but things like tennis, those guys are using their towels after every point. And if we can make it smell better and at least be a little cleaner, obviously it dries before the next point even is done. So things like pro sports as well, even schools, universities, kids are buying it to go off to university, and some of those kids use their towels for three or 4 weeks. So they don't want to be coming back every week for their mum to do their laundry for them. So if they can have something that at least helps them in that time, we're not telling people to never wash their clothes or anything like that, but people have habits, and if we can just fit in with those habits and at least make their fabrics cleaner within that time frame, then we're helping people. So
did you ever dream that you would be in this place now when you were that 16-year-old kid?
No chance. Life takes you on different journeys, different ways. I never thought I would go to Michigan. I'd never thought I would end up in southern Kentucky. I never thought I would meet my wife here. I never thought I would move to Cincinnati. I'd never probably even heard of Cincinnati at that point. So I'd never thought I would start a business. I always had somewhat, looking back now, as an entrepreneurial mind, but I don't think I ever thought I would go into making a spray for towels or sports gear or anything like that, or like I'm doing as well with the app for kids sports, kids soccer. I never thought I would do those things. It just kind of life takes you, and you get things that you enjoy doing, and you kind of just got to follow that path.
So you're saying earlier you love the ecosystem and think that the ecosystem of Cincinnati is a great place to grow a company. Why do you think that?
One, it's small, so I think there's a desire to help startups. I think if you were in a place like San Francisco, you can kind of get lost. But in a smaller city like Cincinnati, and it has a big city feel, but I think when Cincinnati is looking for the next big startup all the time, the next big thing. And for us, I don't know about tech companies or anything like that, but I speak for us. And I think creating a business in the CPG realm in Cincinnati, like I said, Kroger's there, P&G's there. There's a lot of talent that leave these places that want to go and have a mission, work at a smaller company and build it up, and you can get good advice. So yeah, I think the ecosystem, there's a lot of people that are willing to help others in this. People are very approachable, and very rarely do you get ignored here. But I think if you're in a place like San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, you're probably going to get knocked back a lot. So so that's always helpful, and it makes things go quicker.
So looking back on all of your experience that you've had, if you could boil it down to one lesson that you would want people to take away from this, what would you tell? What is your number one piece of advice you give people who are trying to start their own business?
I would expect, I think there's three things. Can I
Yeah, you can answer with three. Go for it.
I think you've got to be relentless, because you're going to get rejections. You're going to get a lot of rejections. I think if you look at those rejections, and it kind of builds into the next one, if you look at those rejections and you always blame someone else, you've got to be company critical, self-critical, because like us, we messaged wrong to begin with. We learned from that, and now we're messaging right to how people respond better. So you got to look at yourself. And I just think you've got to look at other people's stories. So if you look at how this founder did this, maybe they had success, but also look at people's failures. Because when people tell you they're failures, that's just a learning lesson right there. So those three things, I think, looking at other people and how they did it. I always looked at how I went and spoke to those CEOs. How did they do it? I've dealt with a lot of rejections in building a business. You've got to just don't be offended. Don't think that you're worse than anyone else, because Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk have all had rejections. And yeah, just being self-critical. I think if you're critical of yourself, there's only going to be you that's going to be the most critical, and you can take criticism from yourself. Sometimes coming from other people, it's harder. So if you look at yourself, why things are not working out here, then you'll make better decisions in the future, and you'll have longevity in the business world. So,
wow, that's gold. Okay, only got one last question for you.
Cool.
How do you see the future of soccer in the United States?
Oh, that's a tough one. So I am not an optimist on how it's going right now. I do believe that they haven't capitalized on Messi being here. There's one team.
Very true.
There's one team that's got Messi. No other teams have developed themselves. It's just into Miami are selling all these jerseys. They're getting all this notoriety. What has Cincinnati done to do that? Like, they've kind of rode on the coattails of Miami, and they needed to grow themselves. And I do think the league is growing. I think it's hard to compete. America is the best place to live in the world. Like, there's no better place. People will tell you it's falling down, but it's not. It's still the best place to live. And America would attract the best players in the world if it had a league worth playing in. But there's a salary cap that needs to go. There's a foreign player quota. There was some teams that couldn't draft me into the MLS because I was foreign, and I took a spot on a roster that they didn't have available, or it would stop them from signing another player they maybe needed in a different position, for example. So they need to take the salary cap. They need to take the foreign player quota. The teams need to grow, and I think essentially, I think that attracting the best players will make more kids watch the game. More kids watch the game, more kids then play the game. If more kids play the game and watch the game, the kids get better. So then America is producing more great players. And then when people in America like getting behind their own. So I think if there's more American talent playing in the MLS, you look at the owners in the Premier League, I think half of the Premier League owners are owned by wealthy Americans. So the MLS needs to bring these people back. And I just think it's grown, but it's not grown what it should. I think the MLS is better than what it could be doing right now, and that starts. There's some great stadiums, but I think the players could be better, and I think the fan base is there. But there's a World Cup next year, so that could cause some World Cup fever and bring some more investment, encourage more kids to play the game. And if more kids are playing the game, then you're going to get some that stick.
I love it. I love it. All right. The thing I do with every guest at the very end of our episode, that's your camera right there. Give your elevator pitch for Epiphany, and I'll cut that out and you'll have it for your own.
Of course, yeah. So Epiphany is an epiphany moment. Essentially, we solve problems that people don't know about in their household, but they're like, yeah, that does make sense. So we've created a towel spray. There's more bacteria on a 2-day-old towel than there is on a toilet seat, and we don't want to use something with so much bacteria on and wipe it onto our skin. So if there's something that needs to be clean in our household, it's a towel. The same with sports gear. We've developed sports sprays that remove odor. So when your kid gets in the car, they're not stinking the car out or stinking the garage out. So we develop products that you need, and it's an epiphany moment when you buy it. So we appreciate it.
Awesome. And how can people get a hold of the product after if they decide, hey, I want to try this?
So the product sells on Amazon. It sells on our own site. You can go to towelspray.com, for example. There's multiple other online stores, or you can just contact us and we'll work with you if you're in the B2B realm. We work with everyone in the way that they need help. So just let us know. There's the website online. We're looking to get into retail soon, but yeah, just contact us and visit our website for more info.
Tyler, this was amazing. We didn't even get into all the other businesses you're starting right now. This is crazy.
Too much time. We need
serial entrepreneur now.
Yeah, it's fun. Just building stuff is fun. So
I love it.
That's more fun than when it's actually successful. I think the fun part is building it.
Honestly, yeah, that's the exciting part for sure. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Cincinnati Business Podcast. If you like the show, the best way to support us is to like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you fantastic content just like this. And if you are a greater Cincinnati-based business owner who has something you want to share with the world, reach out to me at brian@cincinnatipodcaststudio.com.